The air inside the massive hangar in Dallas carried the sharp scent of fuel and metal, mixed with the low hum of machinery, still cooling down after a long night. Rows of private jets stood lined up in perfect order, 22 of them, each one recently grounded, each one now mysteriously repaired. Standing at the center of it all was Olivia Carter, her heels echoing sharply against the concrete floor as she walked forward with controlled intensity. Her eyes moved quickly from one aircraft to another, scanning for answers that no report had been able to give her. "This is impossible," she muttered under her breath, her voice tight with frustration. Just yesterday, these planes had been out of service, costing the company millions by the hour. Now they stood ready as if nothing had ever been wrong. She turned sharply toward the gathered staff, her expression demanding and unyielding. "I want a name," she said firmly. "Who fixed all 22 planes overnight?" The workers exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke at first, a few shifted their weight. Others avoided eye contact entirely. The silence stretched longer than Olivia liked, building tension in the already heavy air. She took another step forward, her voice rising slightly. "This is not a guessing game. Someone did this work finally." One mechanic hesitantly lifted his hand, then slowly pointed toward the back of the hangar. Another followed, then another. Within seconds, nearly everyone in the room was pointing in the same direction. Olivia frowned, her gaze narrowing as she followed their line of sight. "Ethan," she said, disbelief creeping into her voice as she recognized the name being implied. Ethan Brooks. A quiet murmur moved through the group, confirming it without words. Olivia's expression hardened instantly, confusion blending with something sharper, regret she wasn't ready to admit. Just 3 days ago, she had personally approved his termination. A violation of company protocol. The report had said a mistake she had not questioned at the time. "That's not possible," she said. Almost to herself, he was fired. One of the senior technicians stepped forward, carefully choosing his words with caution. "He was, ma'am," he said. "But he came back last night. No badge, no clock in. Just tools in his hand." He paused, glancing at the aircraft around them. He didn't ask for permission, he just started working. Olivia felt something shift in her chest, though her posture remained firm and no one stopped him. She asked. The technician shook his head. "We tried, but once we saw what he was doing." He looked around again, almost in awe. "No one here could have fixed even half of these issues that fast. He knew every system, every fault. It was like he'd memorized the planes." Olivia turned slowly, taking in the full view of the hangar again. But this time it looked different. Not like a problem solved, but like a silent statement she had completely overlooked. Each repaired jet now felt like proof of something she had dismissed too quickly. Her heels clicked again as she stepped forward, but her pace had slowed. "Where is he now?" she asked, her voice quieter but heavier. Another worker spoke up from the side. "He left just before sunrise. He said I didn't say much. His daughter was with him. She was asleep on a chair most of the night." That detail landed harder than the rest. Olivia exhaled slowly, her sharp composure cracking just slightly. The image formed in her mind. A man she had fired working through the night without recognition. His child waiting beside him. No complaints, no demands. Only results for the first time since entering the hangar. Olivia Carter had no immediate command to give. She simply stood there surrounded by 22 silent reminders that the person she had dismissed might have been the one holding everything together. All along, the early morning sun stretched across the runway in Dallas, casting long shadows behind Ethan Brooks as he walked steadily toward the exit gate. His daughter held his hand, her small steps uneven but determined to match his pace. The world around them was beginning to wake. Distant engines roared to life, ground crews prepared for departures, but Ethan moved as if none of it belonged to him anymore. He didn't look back. His daughter glanced up at him, her voice soft and sleepy. "Daddy, are we not coming back?" she asked, clutching her small stuffed toy closer to her chest. Ethan forced a gentle smile, though it didn't fully reach his eyes. "We'll figure something out," he said quietly. "We always do." His voice carried a calm strength, the kind built from years of handling life alone. But beneath that calm was exhaustion, physical and emotional behind them. The sharp sound of heels striking pavement broke through the morning air. "Ethan, wait." The voice was unmistakable. Ethan slowed but didn't stop immediately. His shoulders tensed slightly before he finally turned around. Standing several steps behind him, slightly out of breath, was Olivia Carter. Her perfectly composed image was gone, replaced by urgency and something far more human, regret. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The distance between them felt heavier than the space it occupied. "You fixed all 22 planes," Olivia said finally. Her voice steadier now, but still carrying emotion. Why the question wasn't accusatory. It was genuine, almost searching. Ethan looked at her, his expression calm but guarded. "Because they needed fixing," he replied simply. Olivia shook her head slightly. Taking a step closer, "No." She said, "You didn't have to." "Not after what happened." Her voice softened. "I fired you." Ethan nodded once, acknowledging it without bitterness. "Yeah," he said quietly. "You did." Another silence settled, but this one felt different, less tense, more revealing. Olivia struggled for the right words, something she wasn't used to. "Then why come back?" she asked. "Why work all night for a company that let you go without?" A second thought. Ethan glanced down at his daughter, gently adjusting her grip on his hand before answering. "Because I needed the job," he said. Then after a brief pause he added, "And because those planes weren't just numbers to me. I worked on them, I know them." His voice remained even, but there was quiet pride in it. Letting them sit there didn't feel right. Olivia absorbed his words slowly. For someone used to contracts, profits, and structured decisions, his reasoning felt almost unfamiliar, simple but powerful. "You didn't even ask for credit," she said. Ethan let out a faint breath, almost a half laugh. "Credit doesn't pay rent." He replied. That line hit harder than anything else. Olivia stepped closer now, closing the gap between them. "I made a mistake," she admitted, the words clearly not easy for her. "I judged too quickly. I saw a report." "Not a person." She paused, meeting his eyes directly. "And I was wrong." Ethan studied her for a moment, as if weighing her sincerity. He wasn't angry, but he wasn't quick to trust either. Life hadn't given him that luxury. His daughter looked between them, curious. "Daddy, is she your boss again?" she asked innocently. Ethan didn't answer right away. Olivia crouched slightly to meet the child's gaze, her expression softening in a way rarely seen in boardrooms. "I hope so," she said gently, then stood again, turning back to Ethan. "Come back," she added. "Not just as an employee. I want you leading that team properly this time." Ethan exhaled slowly, looking past her toward the hangar, then back at his daughter. The decision wasn't simple, but for the first time it felt possible. "I'll come back," he said finally, his voice steady. "But things change." Olivia nodded without hesitation. "They already have," as the sun continued to rise over Dallas. What had started as a quiet exit turned into something else entirely. Not just a return, but a second chance neither of them had expected.